I watched every single preseason game for the Buffalo Bills multiple times, even slowed it down in slow motion. This is the ultimate 53-man roster projection for Bills Mafia in 2023. Welcome to my channel, Bills News Consolidated. We have to take a projected look at this 53-man roster, and there's some strategic things happening here, and that boils down to these vested veterans, the waiver claim experience, if you're not a vested veteran. So let's just discuss it, right? The roster cut down explained here. A vested veteran is considered a player with 4 or more years of NFL service. When a team cuts a vested veteran prior to the trade deadline in the regular season, he's not subject to the waiver system. A player with fewer than 4 years of service, when cut at any time, is subject to the waiver system. This means any other team in the league could claim them. Last year, due to Case Keenum winning the backup quarterback job to Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills announced some practice squad player signings that we need to flash back to, including Matt Barkley, Duke Johnson, Tavon Austin, Greg Mance, Alec Anderson, and some other familiar faces that are still on our team. We need to understand two things. The first, cutting a vested veteran allows us the ability to sign that player to the practice squad, whereas cutting a rookie or a younger player allows them to be signed by another team. Problem with cutting a veteran to ultimately sign them to the practice squad is the amount of money that they're going to be paid. You can see veterans that have been cut will only make an annual salary of $358,000, whereas a rookie coming into the league on the active roster would make $705,000. We already saw Matt Barkley willing to be signed to the practice squad last year due to Case Keenum, so I think he would definitely sign again to the practice squad this year, but you could just kind of see the salary cap hit that he is getting. Literally, the Bills signed him to a $1.1 million contract. He gets signed to the practice squad. He's only going to be making $350K. So that is definitely a salary concern for these other veterans, such as Andy Isabella, Shaq Lawson. Are they going to be okay with the potential pay cut? You could see here, Andy Isabella signed a 1-year deal with the Buffalo Bills at $1 million. If we cut him and signed him to our practice squad, he's going to be taking a substantial cut, like a $700,000 cut. The question is, will these vested veterans be willing to take a pay cut? Brandon Beane, Sean McDermott clearly have a relationship with these players, and they need to establish that, obviously, before cutting them. That did play a role into my projected 53-man roster. We're going to go over notable cuts. We're going to take a look at our potential practice squad, as well as discuss which player will be cut once Von Miller gets activated off the PUP list. Similar to Case Keenum, I think Kyle Allen did a good enough job to win the backup role for the Buffalo Bills, and we already saw Matt Barkley signed to the practice squad last year, not drawing a lot of interest from other teams, or not really a willingness to go to a different team. So Matt Barkley makes a lot of sense to be cut and signed to the practice squad. The running back situation, you could see Jordan Mims, Darrington Evans really did a decent job, but we have a solid stack group of our 3 starting running backs. James Cook, Damian Harris, Latavius Murray are definitely the guys. Now it is, and I am hoping that we get a Darrington Evans to the practice squad or a Jordan Mims to definitely help out with things. Reggie Gilliam is making this team. Now, what I want to do is jump ahead to the wide receiver, and you're going to notice, what, you only have 5 wide receivers? That's not going to happen in the Josh Allen-led offense here. Well, the reason, and my thought being here, is Dalton Kincaid. Dalton Kincaid proved himself to be another weapon for the Buffalo Bills, a receiving target for Josh Allen, another target that we didn't have last year. And therefore, I think we could forego a 6 wide receiver on this team. And I really believe Andy Isabella has really won the job. And you're going to notice in the notable cuts, Khalil Shakir gets cut, former 5th-round pick. I am parting ways with. Yes, that means he's going to enter waivers. Yes, Justin Shorter, a draft pick this year, is going to enter waivers. I had to decide to part ways with Justin Shorter here too. Risking both these wide receivers, Khalil Shakir really reminds me of last year's Isaiah Hodgins getting scooped up by the Giants. But that's the risk you got to take. There's so many wide receivers coming into the NFL because of the spread offense in college. the Bills have to make some decisions somewhere. I made the decision to keep Andy Isabella, who did get interest from other teams when he was released this offseason, a much higher draft pick than Khalil Shakir and Justin Shorter. Definitely has some eyes from other teams on him. I want to secure Andy Isabella, and I don't think Isabella would be willing to take a $700,000 pay cut after presenting his skills this preseason. He could definitely sign to another team and do very, very well for himself and make more money into the future. The other thing you're going to see here is this offensive line, right? You're going to be like, wait, what? You don't have a backup left tackle? Well, the reason why the Buffalo Bills cross-train this offensive line, why we have guards able to play center, even guards that can play tackle, tackles that can play guard, is this opens up our 53-man roster. We don't need as many offensive linemen. Yes, in the practice squad there, you're going to see a bunch of offensive linemen, but I really believe, right, the ability for David Quessenberry to play tackle and to play guard, the ability for Ryan Bates to play every single position on this offensive line makes a lot of sense. And we saw Connor McGovern going down. David Edwards got the start against the Bears. Ike Bucker, we're familiar with, coming back off a season-ending injury last year, but really started to play well. He can play center. He could play guard, right? So every single one of these positions is met. If Spencer Brown goes down, we have David Quessenberry. If Deion Dawkins goes down, maybe we put David Quessenberry there too. Or, Mitch Morris, maybe we put Ryan Bates in there instead of Ike Bucker. There's just ways that we can mix and match with this offensive line. Therefore, we don't need to carry as many offensive linemen. I think that's a strategy that the Buffalo Bills are going to be going into 2023 in the future, that our offensive line is cross-trained that can play multiple positions. Von Miller being on PUP allows another additional roster spot. So really there are 54 players here, but being that Von Miller's on PUP, it gives us an extra roster spot. We're going to discuss who I think could be gone once Von Miller comes back and why this is really important, buying a little bit more time to make some decisions. But very interesting to see. I did keep Shaq Lawson over Kingsley Jonathan. Kingsley Jonathan, to me, was cut last year, went through waivers, was claimed by the Chicago Bears, got cut by the Bears, and the Buffalo Bills scooped him up. So there is still some eyes on Kingsley Jonathan, but the proof is it's hard for other teams to keep players like Kingsley Jonathan. So even if we do let these players go, even a Khalil Shakir, right, and he gets signed to a different team or a different practice squad, they are ultimately going to have to make a decision where that player could very well get claimed again by the Buffalo Bills. So although we're saying buy for now, they could always come back a little bit later. And this is the risk you got to play. This is the game in the NFL you got to play, especially when your roster is this good. So Kingsley Jonathan was the cut at defensive end for me. I'm keeping the veteran Shaq Lawson, AJ Epinesa, Boogie Basham. Leonard Floyd won it for me too. Leonard Floyd is definitely going to be part of this mix. I was a little bit concerned with the lack of playing time with Jordan Phillips here, but Jordan Phillips is a veteran. Hearing the coaches even say, they know how dominant Jordan Phillips really is when he's healthy, so we're expecting him to come back and ball out. But Ed Oliver, Daquan Jones, Tim Settle, Poona Ford, Jordan Phillips, solidifying that defensive tackle position there for the Bills. Some noticeable cuts. Eli Anku totally was balling out this preseason, once again, working in the background for the Buffalo Bills, and I'm really hoping we get him on the practice squad as well, Eli Anku. Maybe because of his play, I mean, attention has definitely got to be on him for sure. But we have other players in the back, defensive tackles, that we could sign to this practice squad. Now getting on to linebacker, very interesting here to see what the Buffalo Bills are doing at linebacker, keeping all these linebackers on this team. That's Milano, Dotson, Klein, Bernard, Williams, and also Matakevich. Matakevich did get playing time against the Bears, but we know savvy veteran special teamer Matakevich. We're going to talk about him more in a second. The Bills keeping Trey White, Dane Jackson, Christian Benford, and Kaiir Elam. A lot of people saying maybe we should trade Kaiir Elam. My thought here is that if there is a significant injury to any of these front three guys, it's nice to have a Kaiir Elam there for another depth piece to step into that field. So I don't think the Buffalo Bills would trade Kaiir Elam, especially on a rookie deal, getting him for such great money for the next couple years too. So that just doesn't make a lot of sense. Taron Johnson, obviously a lock. Ciaran Neal proved himself to me, has everything you need from that nickel cornerback, backing up Taron Johnson, how physical he is, flying around the football field. Maybe he doesn't have the hands of a Taron Johnson, but really, really did a great job this preseason. Has been here for an awfully long time. Jordan Poyer, Taylor Rapper there, Micah Hyde, Damar Hamlin making this roster, and Cam Lewis doing enough for Bills Mafia, and the versatility of Cam Lewis to even back up that slot position depending on matchups, also to back up this free safety spot here too. And my thought here is, Damar Hamlin and Cam Lewis, like going into the season, right? Like what happens when Von Miller comes back? So we got some things that we need to decide upon here and some position battles that maybe we have to move on. We definitely have to move on from a player once Von Miller comes back. So who is that going to be? And my first initial thought and thing that's really paining me to begin with, to start this roster, I really thought about keeping Justin Shorter ahead of Tyler Matakevich. Now, Tyler Matakevich said to be one of the best special teamers in the NFL, but we see the rules of kick and punts. The NFL is starting to change, and even this year with fair catches on kickoffs, Tyler Bass, how much weight are we really putting on special teams? We're putting so much weight on all these other players to play special teams and offense or special teams and defense. Tyler Matakevich is here strictly as a special teamer. So how is that fair? So I think maybe the decision could be made that we release Tyler Matakevich and we bring in a Justin Shorter instead of Tyler Matakevich. Now, I already made the decision here, but what happens when Von Miller comes back? Maybe it is Tyler Matakevich. Maybe the Buffalo Bills see the way the NFL season is transpiring here, like kickoffs, people aren't kick returning it. We don't need that good of a special teamer in Tyler Matakevich, and then we get rid of Tyler Matakevich, right? Or maybe as the season progresses, we realize like Damar Hamlin, maybe he's not there. Maybe he's not doing as well, and it's Cam Lewis, right? Or maybe Cam Lewis isn't beating out Damar Hamlin in practice when we get rid of Cam Lewis. So I think once Von Miller comes back, it's going to really boil down to Tyler Matakevich, Damar Hamlin, Cam Lewis. It's going to be very interesting to see how that unfolds. After watching the game film study reviews, again, watching it in slow motion, studying these players, there's a ton of players that I obviously don't want to get rid of. Brandon Beane, Sean McDermott, we don't want to get rid of them. We don't want to lose them. But this is the game of the NFL. This is how they set it up for the parity to allow other teams to get better. Now, I'm really hoping that these vested veterans are going to be willing to take less money. I mean, a $700,000 pay cut, maybe to stay with the Buffalo Bills. But we just have to see. Andy Isabella, Shaq Lawson, right? Potential vested veterans that could be cut. You never really know. And the risk of losing Khalil Shakir, Justin Shorter on the waivers, is going to be a tough decision to make.